Hello, welcome to Willow Hill and everyone joining us for worship today. We are so excited to worship with you. And thank you for joining us for our 5th Sunday of Lent and 5th week of our sermon series, Reckless Love. Jesus' call to love our neighbor. If you are new here, welcome. We're so glad you're here and we would love a chance to get to know you. So please consider filling out the digital connection card linked in the video's description or comment new below the video. If you'd like to get to know Willow Hill a little bit more, you can check out our website, willowhill.org, or you can find us on social media through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll go ahead and link our website as well as our social media handles in the video's description. Throughout the course of the worship service, please feel free to like, comment, and let us know what you're thinking. We would love to hear from you. And if there's any way that we could be praying for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can actually submit your prayers and praises through that digital connection card in the video's description, and that way the staff could go ahead and pray alongside you. Now, would you please join in singing today's opening song?
Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. This cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are stilled, when striving cease, my comforter, my all in all. Here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied, for every sin on him was laid. Here in the death of Christ I live. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world by darkness slain, then bursting forth in glorious day, up from the grave he rose again, and as he stands in victory, since curse has lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I stand.
Hello, friends. As we enter into our time of prayer this morning, I want to give you a few minutes to just silently pray, connect your heart to God's heart, lift up anything that is on your mind. And then I'll pray a prayer for us, and at the end we can join together in the Lord's Prayer. Let us go to God in prayer. Oh, gracious God, we gather here today to give you thanks. You have blessed us with far more than we deserve, and we thank you for that. And yet, we are reminded that there are people in the world who do not have the basic necessities to live: clothing, food, shelter. Help us to remember to reach out to them. You have blessed us so that we might go out and bless others. You have given us much so that we can share it with those who have little. Motivate us to do your work with a spirit of kindness and compassion. We remember today those who are suffering, whether from illness, loss of a loved one, or something else entirely. Send your Spirit to comfort your people. Send your peace and love to wash over them, that they might know of your presence and your peace. We ask for help and guidance in keeping our focus on you. Help us to take time to reflect and grow in your love, and make this be a time for us that we personally grow closer to you, and that we as a church grow closer to you. We turn our lives over to you in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ, who taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Hi friends, it is time for small talk. I brought some items back with me from the Holy Land. I was in Israel and Egypt, and we were by some really cool bodies of water. We were at the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. Both of them have salt water. And there were some things that washed up on the beach that I think were so cool. This is called sea glass. And I know it's a little hard to see, but there's all different pieces. And it's just little broken pieces of glass, but it's not sharp anymore. You know, usually glass we can't touch when it's broken, right? Because it's sharp and it will hurt us, and we stay away from it. But this glass had somehow gotten into the sea, and the waves had just moved the glass around and tumbled it, so that finally now this glass is really pretty. It's frosty and it's smooth everywhere. So what started out as a broken piece of glass, something nobody paid attention to, after the waves tumbled it in the sea, and the salt water was surrounding this glass, it washed up as something beautiful. And several of us saw these pieces, and I collected some to bring back and show all of you. And it's really pretty. You know, some people pick up these pieces of glass and they make jewelry out of it, because it started out as just something broken, but the waters kept tumbling, and it turned into something beautiful. Well, that kind of reminded me of our Bible story today. See, in our story today, there is a man who was not able to walk. He was lame. He hadn't been able to walk for many, many, many years. And in these times in Israel, the Bible tells us that there was this place where there were like these healing pools, like little pools of water. And they believed at the time that when the water stirred up, that there were like these healing powers. So the man thought if he stayed next to the pools, somehow he could get in the pools and it would heal him. But you know what? It says that the man stayed there for a long time and nobody paid attention to him. Nobody stopped and helped him get into the pools. And since he couldn't walk, he couldn't do that by himself. So this poor man was sad and not able to walk and spent a lot of time just sitting there waiting for someone to pay attention to him and help. Well, now our story today tells us that Jesus came by and Jesus saw this man and Jesus stopped and paid attention to him. A man that was sitting there, nobody else had paid attention to. He couldn't walk. He probably didn't feel very important. He was probably pretty sad. But Jesus noticed this man. Jesus paid attention to him, and Jesus talked to him. Jesus asked him what he wanted, and then Jesus provided healing for this man. Jesus told the man that he could get up and take his mat and walk, and he did. All because this man's life was changed, all because Jesus noticed him. Jesus stopped what he was doing and paid attention to this man and helped bring healing to his life. So I wonder if we can learn from Jesus, if God through Jesus was trying to teach us to pay attention to people. Pay attention to people who might need help, who might need some love or some healing. Now, we might not be able to do a miracle like Jesus and make someone just stand up and walk. But maybe if someone is sad or hurting, if we pay attention to them, we stop what we're doing and we show some love in some way, whatever that may be. Maybe making a card to send to someone, calling someone, making a donation, just stopping and smiling, giving someone a hug. Maybe the lesson we can learn from this, and remember our sea glass, started out broken, someone just discarded it, threw it away, but the waves in the sea kept paying attention and kept tumbling the glass until it became beautiful, and then someone noticed and picked it up and could turn it into a beautiful piece of jewelry. Maybe a little bit like that. When we pay attention to people who are hurting, we can help bring some healing to their lives, and we can help them feel the love and the beauty of God's love. And maybe we can help bring some healing into somebody's life too, just by paying attention and loving those that feel maybe not as important. Let's put our hands together and say our sentence prayer. Dear God, thank you for noticing people who need your love. Please help us pay attention to people who are hurting or sad. Amen.
Well, today, as we think about the vulnerable in our community and in our world, I cannot help but give thanks for the ways that our church has answered the call to serve others who are so often forgotten in society. For those who are hungry and are in need of food assistance, for those who are ailing and who are in need of health care, for those who are lonely and are in need of a listening ear. Willow Hill regularly engages in the ministries that meet people where they are and that share the love of Jesus with those who need it most. Thank you for generously supporting Willow Hill in all the ways that we seek to reach out to the vulnerable around us. You are making a difference.
You came to the world you created washing my feet, covering me with your love. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take desires and dreams I lay down. Here at your feet, my desires and dreams I lay down. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything. Oh Lord, change me like only you can. Here with my heart in your hands, Father, I pray, make me more like Jesus. This world is dying to know who you are. You've shown us the way to your heart. So Father, I pray, make me more like Jesus, more like Jesus. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything.
Would you join me in prayer, please? Oh, good and gracious God, we pray that you would open our ears, open our minds, open our hearts, that we might hear your still small voice. Speak to us, God. We are listening. Amen. Well, a few weeks ago in my small group, I asked the question, what is your favorite word and what is your least favorite word? I was particularly curious to hear people's least favorite word so I could torture them. So I could avoid using it in their presence. Someone brought up that there are certain words that have been overused during the pandemic and that they have become words that just kind of grate on our nerves. So words like pivot and nimble were thrown around. And I think we might add to that list unprecedented, Zoom, new normal, or even trying times. One word that doesn't really bother me, but has certainly been used more during the pandemic than I ever remember it being used previously, is the word vulnerable. Vulnerable. For the past 2 years, vulnerable has been on our radar. It's been in the news, it's been on our Facebook feeds. There have been reminder after reminder that there are vulnerable people everywhere. And maybe, hopefully, this has opened our eyes and helped us to see outside of ourselves a little bit more. There are vulnerable people in our midst, and there always has been. I mean, this is nothing new. We've always had vulnerable people with us from our earliest days as humans. And we read throughout the Bible where people encounter the vulnerable over and over again. But nobody, it seems, has a knack for encountering vulnerable people quite like Jesus did. His whole ministry is peppered with interactions with vulnerable people. Those who are sick, those who have been abandoned by society, those who were thought less of, women and prostitutes and sinners, the ill, the paralyzed, the unclean, the unwanted. It's hard to even read through one chapter of any of the Gospels and not see Jesus coming in contact with a vulnerable person. I just got back a week and a half ago from an incredible trip to Israel. And while I was there, I was able to walk where Jesus walked and experience all sorts of different places, including places where Jesus encountered the vulnerable. And I read anew those stories of Jesus and the compassion that he had for people. As we visited site after site, my eyes were able to see where these stories took place. And it was like hearing these stories again for the first time, because now I could picture where they happened. And so I thought it might be kind of fun to show one such place to you, a place where Jesus encountered a vulnerable man and changed that man's life forever. Let's take a look.
Hey friends, you will see right behind me, I'm at the Pool of Bethesda today, and you can see down here is where the pools were. Over here you can see some kind of later structures that were built. They had a temple to the Roman god Vejovis here. He's a healing god. In Greek it would have been Asclepius. And they built them here because they believed that the pools down here had some sort of magical healing power. And so as we read the story in the Bible, we know that people waited to get into the waters so that they could be healed. They waited for the water to stir up. They believed something supernatural stirred up the water, and then when they got into the water, they would find the healing that they needed. And it was here that Jesus met a man who was paralyzed, waiting to get into the pool. And he couldn't get there by himself, and so Jesus healed him, told him to stand up, take his mat and walk. And so he found healing in this place. Jesus came to show us that we didn't need magical waters, we just needed him. And one of his only 2 healing miracles that happened here in Jerusalem. So just wanted to bring you here today and to show you this little beautiful piece of ancient history.
And now that we've had a chance to see where this story took place, let's read the scripture passage where it happens, and maybe we can hear anew this story. This is John 5, verses 1 through 9. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in that condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." And at once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. Now, I want to point out a few things about this passage. In the video, I told you that there was a shrine to the Roman god Vejovis, was his name. The Greek version would have been Asclepius. And tradition says that an angel or a spirit or this healing god would stir up the waters of this pool. And when that happened, whoever was the first to get into the water would be healed. So you can picture in your mind hundreds, if not thousands of people who over time would come to this pool of Bethesda. All those people who came with desperation. They were desperate for healing, and they came with illness and disease. People who were paralyzed, who were blind, who were hurting, aching, and maybe even dying. And they thought, if they could just come to this pool, if they could just get into the water when it was stirred up, then maybe, just maybe, Asclepius would bless them and they would find healing and health. They put their faith in that pool. They put their faith into those waters, hoping and praying that they would find what they desired most. That's why the invalid in this story somehow found his way to this pool. We're told he had been paralyzed for 38 years. And somehow, someone had had mercy on him and at least had helped him get to the pool, close to the pool. But now he was alone, and there was no one there to help him get into the water. So, try as he might, he couldn't find the healing he was looking for. But one day, a man approached him, a stranger. And the stranger asked this paralyzed man, "Do you want to get well?" And the paralyzed man responded, "Well, of course. Of course he wanted to get well. That's why he was at the pool. He just couldn't make it into the water." And you can almost hear the pleading in his voice that he needed help. He was desperate for healing. And then this man, this stranger that had approached him, said, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." And at that moment, the invalid man was cured. And he was able to get up, pick up his mat, and walk away after 38 years of being paralyzed. Can you even imagine? It's incredible. When I was doing some reading on this passage, one theologian that I read wrote this, that the word that Jesus used for get up in Greek is the same word often used for resurrection. So when I read that, it kind of clicked in my mind that Jesus wasn't just performing a miracle of meeting this vulnerable man where he was. He wasn't just giving him the ability to walk. Jesus was resurrecting this man. Jesus was bringing this man back to life, giving this man what he was originally intending to have, a life of wholeness and of health. Jesus encountered this vulnerable man, and he resurrected him. But our story doesn't stop there. I want to read on and see what happens next. This is the second half of verse 9 and following. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, "It is a Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So they asked him, "Who is this fellow that told you to pick it up and walk?" The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who made him well. So, because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders began to persecute him. As the story continues, we are clued in that this healing takes place on the Sabbath. And some Jews, most likely headed to the temple, which was close by the pool, scolded the man because he was carrying his mat as he walked, and that was against the Jewish law of what you could do on the Sabbath. You couldn't do any work, and that included carrying a mat. When the man explained that he was just doing what he had been told by the person that had healed him, the Jewish man said, "Well, who? Who told you that you could pick up your mat and walk?" They are frustrated that somebody would command another person to break Sabbath law. Well, the healed man had no idea. This was a stranger to him. He didn't know who Jesus was. He just knew that he had been healed. But later, as the healed man was at the temple, probably going to give thanks to God for the fact that he had been healed, he ran into Jesus. And they have a brief conversation together, and then the healed man goes back to those Jewish leaders and tells them that it was Jesus who healed him. Jesus found himself then in some trouble with the Jews because he had broken Sabbath law himself when he healed somebody. And we're told that the Jews begin to persecute Jesus because of this. Now, Jesus had taken a risk. He knew the Jewish officials wouldn't like that he healed somebody on the Sabbath. He knew that they would be frustrated and angry with him. But lucky for us, Jesus isn't a people pleaser. He didn't care what other people thought. Instead, he cared about doing what was right. And so he took the risk. He reached out to the vulnerable. He healed this suffering man. Now, this isn't the last time that Jesus will heal on the Sabbath. He did it more than once. Why? Well, because Jesus couldn't not act. He couldn't not act. In our book that we've been reading through for Lent, Reckless Love, Tom Berlin says this: Jesus' love was free of categories and distinctions of who was more or less deserving. He lacked the ability to be unaware, inattentive to, or judgmental of others. In other words, Jesus acted because he had to. He was unable to look past this man's suffering. He was unable to allow him to stay in the state that he was in. He knew the suffering man needed a resurrection in his life, and so Jesus took the risk and intervened to bring this man into wholeness of life. Because Jesus valued the vulnerable. And Jesus leads us by example to do the same thing. You know, valuing the vulnerable has taken on a new life the past couple of years. Vulnerable people aren't just those people out there or over there, but they're our family, our friends, our neighbors, people we normally sit next to on Sunday mornings at church. This pandemic has opened our eyes, perhaps, to see that there are vulnerable people everywhere. And not just pandemic-related vulnerable, not just physically vulnerable. There are emotionally vulnerable people that we are called to care for. And that's why we can find comfort in Jesus' actions. Because he shows us that we're to love the vulnerable no matter what. And the reality is that for most of us, at some point in our life, we are going to become the vulnerable ourselves. We'll become vulnerable. And when that happens, we know that Jesus has already proven his love for us by repeatedly showing us that he loves the vulnerable. So we are called to be like Jesus and value the vulnerable, not just during a pandemic, but always. We're supposed to look out for others, to show love and compassion, just as Jesus did to that paralytic man at the pool of Bethesda. Jesus took time to see that man, to really see him, and to speak words of life into his situation. We too are called to do the same, to look for the vulnerable among us and to share the love of Christ with them. Tom Berlin challenges us to do this first by being curious. When we are curious, we are much more likely to listen than we are to judge. Berlin tells us that when we are curious and seek to learn about someone, we are much more likely to care about their story than to judge their circumstance. Being curious opens us up to an opportunity to serve other people rather than to stand back and cast judgment on them. So there's power in curiosity, in getting to know someone for who they are. Jesus did exactly this when he asked the paralytic man that question, "Do you want to get well?" It gave the paralytic man the opportunity to share his story with Jesus. And that is truly where the healing began, because he felt like somebody was listening to him. Jesus calls us to serve others, to open our hearts to the vulnerable around us. There's purpose in this. Serving others, especially the vulnerable, it changes us, gives us the opportunity to grow and to become something greater than just ourselves, to be a part of something greater than just ourselves. Berlin, in his book, says it this way: Jesus wants to bless you, and he wants you to have the joy of blessing others. It's not enough for him that you would be healed. He wants to put the power in your life that could help someone else so that your joy will increase beyond measure. The critical power that Jesus can offer us is the ability to love others because we see the value not only of who they are, but who, with God's help, they can be. Isn't that powerful? That it's not enough that we ourselves are healed by Jesus. He wants more for us than that. He wants us to reach out and to help heal somebody else, to help somebody else understand that with God's help, we can all be greater than just ourselves. And that's true life transformation. And to think that God might use us to channel that transformational power so that somebody else might experience a resurrection in their own life, well, that's pretty incredible. You know, Jesus showed us that everyone matters. Everyone. Each and every person is a child of God, beloved by God. So may we take on the actions of Jesus. May we reach out to the vulnerable around us. May we step outside our comfort zones to serve others. And may we channel God's transformational power so that others might experience the true life change that Jesus can bring. Would you pray with me, please? Oh, good and gracious God, how grateful we are for the example of your Son, Jesus, that we might learn to reach out to those who are in need, to the vulnerable among us, to share your transformational power with them. Use us, God, as vessels for that power, so that others might come to know how dearly beloved they are by you. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Well, this worship service has ended, but your life in Christ goes on and on. May your peace be so real and your joy so evident that all who see you come to know God. Amen.
Thank you for worshiping with us. Wednesday, April 6th is the last day to place an order to have the house of your choice egged. For a donation, the Witness Team Bunnies will plant 12 filled Easter eggs around the yard of your choice. Place your order with Lee Hager for the house to be egged the weekend of the 8th. Donations may be made via cash or check made payable to Willow Hill with egging in the memo line. Proceeds will benefit youth missions and retreats. Saturday, April 9th from 1 to 3 p.m. we will have our annual Easter extravaganza. There will be crafts, games, and the Easter Bunny. You can choose to do the egg hunt at 1:30, 2, or 2:30 p.m. The rain date for this fun and free event is April 16th. Snyder Village is allowing healthcare wing residents to attend the Willow Hill service on campus, but they need helpers to assist in transporting residents to and from the service. Please consider volunteering and letting Gina Hewlett know if you would like to be a helper. For prayer concerns, contact Gina Hewlett. For pastoral care needs, please contact Pastor Nicole Cox. Staff contact information can be found on our website. If you enjoyed today's worship service, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest videos. Thank you and have a blessed day.